everybody, my name is Aditi Galande, and this is our second episode of The Price of Winning. I'm so excited to introduce my next special guest. We first met in a professional organization, but then we soon became friends, and our values and aspirations in life aligned so well. So I'm so excited to have her here. Please welcome Lexi Childress.
Thank you so much, Aditi. I really appreciate your intro, and I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, honestly, you have taught me so much about just the career of becoming a doctor, about life, and just navigating being a college student, because we both know it's tough.
Oh, definitely. It's very, very tough. And I know you're still in school, but I'm so glad I graduated.
I know, I'm jealous, but
Almost there.
almost there. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background?
Absolutely. I'm currently in my gap year, and I just graduated from Arizona State University in the spring in 2022 with a degree in medical microbiology and a minor in Spanish. And I'm just currently working a part-time job I would say while studying for the MCAT, but I just took my MCAT 2 days ago, so now I'm kind of in limbo waiting for a few things to come up to the horizons and for me to follow my next steps. But I'm currently applying for medical school this upcoming cycle to hopefully start in fall 2024.
That's awesome. Definitely a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
But at least the hard part is done.
So much waiting. I also applied for Fulbright, and I just had an interview today for a position in Spain. So hopefully that comes through. A lot of things up in the air, but that's the life of a pre-med. Always waiting for the next thing to come into your inbox.
Yeah, that's awesome though. It's so refreshing to be around people that have so many things going on and so many aspirations that they look forward to.
Thank you.
So let me ask you this. So you're applying to medical school, right? Why did you want to be a doctor?
You know, that is a loaded question. We're just going to come out and say that. Growing up, I have always wanted to be a physician since I feel like I came into consciousness. I had experience in my family. My father was burdened with mental illness, and I noticed how much it burdened my family and really affected the way I grew up and my siblings as well. And when I was 5, I really wanted to, quote, fix my dad. I was like, what can I do so that he can be normal around us? And I didn't really understand what mental illness was or mental health in general back then, but I felt like I needed to fix him so he wouldn't lash out at us. And it was really hard. And I thought I would become a surgeon. I was like, oh, a neurosurgeon, a brain surgeon, just looking it up online. I was like, that seems like the perfect solution to me as like a 5-year-old. And then when I became around 10 and he got an official diagnosis for bipolar disorder, I, grew up very quickly, and I thought more about the healthcare field and what I wanted to go into. And it really sparked my interest in surgery. I know now that, of course, mental illness cannot be fixed with a simple operation, but ever since then, I've always been interested in just helping people who are going through horrible things and helping them come out of it with happier and healthier endings.
That's amazing to hear. Honestly, being surrounded by so many people that have such interesting lives, you never really know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the best thing you can do for people, whether it's your father, whether it's your sibling, whether it's a stranger you see on the street, is just being kind and being patient.
Absolutely. I think kindness is the best virtue anybody can have. And especially with like the current climate, politically, socially, it's honestly tough to come by some kindness. I don't know about you, but I used to work in fast food like industry for like a long time, and you'd be surprised how many people are just very bitter over the fact that they didn't get the right chicken nuggets in their bag. I was like, wow, people out here are a little mean, So any smile or kindness really goes a long way.
Yeah, how can they be mad at you if you're just smiling? Or like if you don't react, I feel like that's the easiest solution. Don't react.
So sorry. And then they say thank you, and I say my pleasure. That's a hint to what the industry I worked in.
Yeah. Something you brought up, my pleasure, right? I thought that was funny because when I went to Costa Rica, I just came back yesterday. And so I spent a whole week there learning about sustainability and their healthcare programs. And something that I found really cool was that every person I talked to, I tried to talk to everyone in Spanish, even though I probably sounded really bad. But I would talk to them, and then when I said thank you, they would say con gusto, which I found out was with pleasure. And so it was that whole kind of circle of just being kind to people because you never know what their stories, you never know what they're struggling with.
Yeah, that's really cool. A lot of people say different things. I studied Spanish, and, in the formal setting, you got to say, de nada, con gusto. I'm like, oh, it's a little informal.
Yeah. No, I like that. I'm going to start using that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, so you graduated last year.
Yes.
And I just want to hear your path through college. Like, was it easy for you?
Oh my
Were there
gosh.
some hurdles you had to jump through? Tell me about it.
Well, the COVID-19 pandemic definitely did not help.
Yeah, fair enough.
I felt like it was honestly, I had a really good college experience, and I really tried to make the most of it, even with the pandemic. When I'm actually I was an out-of-state student. I came from Orlando, Phoenix, and I graduated early from high school by 1 year. And I wanted to get out of Florida. I wanted to find a new life and start my new life, a new career somewhere completely different. And I felt like ASU was the perfect place for me. They're so open and accepting of everybody, no matter their background or test scores,
Yeah.
And when I started there, I knew I wanted to be a pre-med. And I knew I needed to get clinical experience. And I did not know what clinical experience meant. I was like, oh, that means research. I had no idea what research was until someone was like, you should join a lab. And my freshman year, I was researching labs, and I only applied to one, which never do. Apparently, you should apply to like 10 or 12, so everybody gets like a feeling for you. But I just applied to one, and I was like, I know nothing about tuberculosis. I know that's the topic of my research. I know nothing about it, but here's what I know now after doing so much research on it. And I think I'm really interested in this. It's so cool what the work you're doing. We worked on antimicrobial agents as alternatives to antibiotics with the rise of antibiotic resistance against tuberculosis.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so as a freshman at just turning 18, I was like, that sounds cool. I don't know what it means, but I'll do it. And, it just kind of became a snowball effect. It was like, I'm a first generation student. I don't know a lot about anything. And so people will be like, you should do this, you should do that. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means or what this is, but I'll try it. Like, I'll just try my best. And I think that's anybody can ask for. And yeah, freshman year, I joined my research lab. And then I was like, I want to study abroad. I feel like that's an awesome opportunity. And I was fortunate to get a scholarship to study abroad in Switzerland my second year. And I was supposed to be there for 7 months. And, COVID happened. All of a sudden, 1 week, I was hanging out with my friends in the Euroscholars program in my lab in Geneva. And it was like one case of mysterious virus circling around.
No.
And then it was like next day, it was like 100 cases of this similar virus, And I worked at the hospital, and it was like overcrowded at the hospital. I was like, what is going on? And then like by the end of it, it was like 1,000 cases, shut down the country, locked the border to Italy because Italy was on fire with COVID. And then it was like, okay, well, I'm going to go on my trip this weekend to Gruyere, like the cheese capital of the world. And then the U.S. federal government emailed me and was like, you need to come home. All U.S. students need to return to the United States at once. And ASU was like, you need to come back or we're revoking your scholarship. Like, it was so strict.
Oh, no.
I was struggling to find a flight, and they were closing the borders to France where the airport was. It happened so fast, all in 1 week.
Yeah.
I was like, I got my flight Saturday. Sunday I said goodbye. And Monday I was on my way, and Tuesday they closed the borders. And I went to IKEA like the week before, and I bought a rug. I bought like all these like plants and trees.
Yeah.
I got like groceries, all my groceries, and I had no time to like figure out what to do with them. So I told my roommate, who was from the UK, and I was like, do whatever you want with them. Like, you take them home. I left shoes. I left so many clothes. I feel like there's some things like I put in my closet that are probably still there.
Lexi's stuff is somewhere in Switzerland right now.
Yeah. And so I'm sure a lot of people have had horrible experiences with COVID. And I wouldn't say my experience was horrible, but it definitely was, you know, it was jarring. And so I was so upset because I worked so hard to get these scholarships, and I didn't know what to do with myself after.
Yeah.
And, you know, we took classes online for like 1.5 years or something like that. And then finally we had classes in person. And then it was that struggle between putting your mask on, putting your mask off, what was socially acceptable, what people thought was like too much or too little. And then I graduated, and I was like, thank God I'm done. That was a lot during the tail end of college. It's probably a long answer.
Yeah. No, it was hard, especially going to college during that time, because there was so much unknown. You know, everyone was talking about how we go on spring break, but we never know when we're going to come back.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah. So I know for me, when I went through the whole staying at home thing, I lost out on a lot of social aspects of life, whether it's with my friends or with my peers or with other doctors that I was in steps to work with.
Yeah, those mentorships, man.
Yeah. So as a pre-med, how did you deal with that?
Yeah. Well, I did what any person would do, and is I founded a nonprofit.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what to do with myself. You know, as most pre-meds are out there, we're like, well, we can't just be doing nothing. I got to stay busy. I got to do something and put something on my resume. And keep my mind working and going. And I came back from the US, and I lost all those relationships. I was supposed to like present in Zurich and have 2 more research publications, and I was so upset about that. And then I had a friend from the University of Pennsylvania. She and I were really good friends in high school, and she went to UPenn on a scholarship, and I was so happy for her. And she reached out to me because she's a pre-med too, or she was, and she was like, we should do something about this. We should get together with all of our pre-med friends. And we had a bunch of friends all over the country, being out of state. Everybody kind of went all over the place. And we got together, and I realized, I was like, why don't we do something a little bigger? Like, why don't we make this some cool all virtual conference? Because Zoom was up and running, and everybody seemed to be joining on Zoom and hanging out with their friends. I was like, we could turn this into something. We could have our pre-med students like come to this conference for free and get free resources and stuff. And then it turned into this like official organization. I was like, let's give it a name. Let's build a website. Maybe let's send out an application for people. And with that said, I've met so many mentors over the years through the National Pre-Health Conference. Now the National Pre-Health Community is the organization that we founded.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've had the pleasure of joining the team, I think 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2021. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I've done 2 conferences with you.
Yeah.
And we're on our way on our 3rd. So it's awesome.
Fourth. Well,
fourth.
my 4th. Your 3rd.
My 3rd. But another conference nonetheless.
Yeah.
But I think it's so amazing that you turned just an idea into an actual reality, and it just didn't fizzle after the first year or the second year. It kept on growing, and now it's even bigger than what you probably even imagined it would be.
Oh my gosh. And it's all virtual. It's amazing how many people that are a part of this. Thousands of pre-health students, you know, we have in our newsletter and reach out to us. And I really hope to make the national pre-health community grow and actually establish physical mentorships with our pre-health students.
It was really hard going through college where you had some things online and some things in person. Mm-hmm. And so just having the conference online, it gives you so much access to all the different speakers, all the different students that you could reach. Because imagine if you just had it in person and you charged people would have to fly out.
I know.
Like, the fact that it's all free for people, that is so amazing.
You know, I thought of making it in person, like doing some sort of hybrid virtual event. And I talked to one of my physician mentors about it. And I was like, we should totally do this. I could rent out the ASU MU room. It'd be super cool. I'll fly out people, get scholarships. It'll be super fun because I'm extremely extroverted. And I will say, founding a virtual conference, I'm like, I just want to go talk to you guys and go hang out in break rooms and, you know, just have really cool small group discussions in person. But my mentor was like, but that would like not break many barriers. So many people can't fly out. And I was like, well, we could do scholarships for the people to fly out. And they were like, yeah, but like you can't raise that much money and it wasn't feasible. And I realized I didn't need to do this big old thing. Why not just keep it simple and keep it successful?
So I've been reading a lot about how these companies are mandating their workers to come in office because you kind of lose the sense of this workplace culture, this, you know, working towards one goal. So do you think the conference would ever go in person?
I think if I got the funding to do it, I would do maybe 2. I would do a hybrid and a virtual one, like a biannual conferences. That would be awesome. That would be ideal, you know, to still keep it free for a lot of people, but still have the in-person contact because you can really build connections through in-person conferences. Like, you can just meet awesome people. I'm not sure. I would like to have an in-person conference at some point, but I have a feeling once I get into medical school somewhere, I'm going to try to strike a deal with this med school. I'll be like, listen, we can make this a insert name med school collaborative initiative with the National Pre-Health Conference. So we'll see.
Yeah, then you get access to their budgets.
Yeah.
So you can just blow it out of the water. You have done so much over, I feel like, a short span of time. It sounds like you have such a great support system and you yourself are so ambitious.
Thank you.
But do you find yourself successful?
Oh my gosh. What a question. Not yet, you know, and I don't know. And it's so sad because like as pre-meds, as pre-health students, it's like, you're always working towards the next thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to get into med school. I'm going to get into residency or whatever graduate program. And then I'm going to go to a fellowship or finally become an attending. Then I'm going to retire. I'm going to try to retire. You know, it's always getting to the next thing. And I'll never forget one of my friends in Switzerland while I was studying abroad. She was from Rome. And we were on a tour. And she was like, you know what I really don't like about you Americans? And I was like, oh, okay, what? And she was like, well, I love how hardworking you are. There's a lot of amazing, innovative things that come out of the States. But you guys are always trying to live in the future. You're working towards the next thing. Every single day, you're like, next day, what's coming up? What's the next big milestone I can reach? But you guys should try to have fun and live in the moment, as cheesy as that might sound. And I was like, I really don't really live in the moment. I would like to feel like I am successful. I guess I would say, yes, college has been awesome. And I mean, not as awesome as it could be with the pandemic, but it's a complicated answer.
It's kind of cool to hear someone else's perspective about American culture and how we always live in the future. Because I never really heard of that until now. But it kind of makes sense because America was founded on this American dream, right? To be successful, whatever form, shape it was. But to achieve that American dream, you always have to keep working, right?
Yeah.
And it looks different for other people, but if you're not there, then you're always working. You're always looking to the future, which makes sense. But a lot of these European countries, their focus isn't about being the richest person or, you know, being financially free. It's about really creating your values and being healthy.
Yeah.
And that plays into living in the moment and taking care of yourself in different aspects today.
Oh my gosh, yes. The community values over in Europe is just, they like admire each other and they build each other up and it's like amazing. I want to go back. I want to get out of here.
I think even looking back at how I went about my college journey, I very much looked towards the next day.
Yeah.
And it was never about like, oh, this is all that I've accomplished today.
Yeah.
So there's this influencer that I listen to, Andy Frisella. He is a huge entrepreneur and he has a podcast as well called Real AF. I highly suggest it. It is very much pro-America and just getting things done. Like, how do you discern signal from noise?
Oh my gosh.
And all that stuff. And so it's awesome. I suggest it. But he talks about this thing called a power list. And so you start with a journal or an agenda, whatever you want to use, and you write down 5 things in the morning that you want to accomplish that day. And so he says keep it at 5 because when you keep on adding more things, then it can be very overwhelming. But when you have 5 and you try to accomplish that, you can see if you win that day. So if you have 5 things and you complete all of them, you win that day. But then the next day, if you don't, then you kind of lose that day. And so you can flip through your journal, your notebook, and see how many wins you've had, how many losses you've had. And so it kind of helps you stay in the present moment and also feel so accomplished, like, oh, I accomplished so much today, and bring that momentum into the next day.
Wow, that's very American.
But it's very like proactive. Because it's not, you're looking at it all the time.
Yeah.
And it's in the forefront of your mind.
No, I honestly think that would help me so much and be like, okay, we did good today. Let's try to just move, like not try to move on, but yeah, live in the moment. And I feel like if I told my research lab in Switzerland that I did that, they would laugh at me. They'd be like, you Americans are trying to fix everything. I'm like, what?
I mean, yeah. If you're not where you want to be, then you got to fix
Work
something.
hard.
Yeah.
Grind never stops.
That is true. You've done a lot of different things in your college and your post-grad. Are there any challenges that you faced when you're trying to balance this work and personal life and just trying to become a pre-med, studying all the things you have got going on?
Oh man, guys, I went through burnout hard. Very, very, very hard. Last year, the spring semester, I was about to graduate. I had finished my major. I was finishing up my minor. I was finishing up my scientific publication, working like 30 hours as a medical scribe and doing overnights every other weekend, you know, because they were short-staffed. No one was getting paid high enough, so everybody was leaving, and I was like still trying to hang on. And I was studying for the MCAT. I was supposed to take the MCAT last year, April 30th, and I had studied for 6 months, and I worked so hard towards it. And a month before, on top of everything, I was trying to take a practice exam every Sunday because Saturday I did overnights. And I would like go up, and then I plateau, and then I went down and down and down, and it was so bad, and my score was like super low, and I was like, what? Like, I've done everything, you know? I thought I've worked so hard for this. I've tried to excel in every little thing I could, and, you know, my body was like, it couldn't keep up. And there's this saying, I'm going to give a really rough impression of it, but it's like, if you don't slow down, your body will do it for you.
Oh, wow.
And I heard this from I think it was Dr. Glaucomflecken's podcast or something, but yeah, and when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that happened to me last year. And I delayed my MCAT like 1 month, and then I delayed it again, and I was like, I can't do this. I was like, I need to just cancel it. And for the first time in my life, I didn't know what to do. I was like, I just canceled my MCAT. I just graduated. I don't have a job right now. I wasn't expecting any of this. And I got therapy. I basically took all summer last year. I worked a little bit, but mostly it was like the first time in my life I only did one thing. I just had a job and I just went to therapy, and we really went into it. I went through a lot of trauma as a kid, and I think it was really building on my shoulders because my father died 2021, and it was around the same time, the anniversaries of his death, that was my MCAT last year.
Oh, wow. I can't imagine.
I think just like subconsciously, I was like, I haven't dealt with this trauma, and it's just stuck in my body, and it's really trying to like come out, and trying to help me move through it, but I can't because I have all these things that I'm trying to focus on. And yeah, I couldn't keep up, but highly recommend to every single pre-med out there. You don't have to have gone through something to like value and really benefit from therapy. It's probably the best thing I've ever done. We did a desensitization therapy to like desensitize me to some of my past memories, but also the MCAT. Like this past 2 months, we met like every other week, weekly, to like think about taking the test, getting ready for the test to relieve some of that anxiety. And I know I can count on my therapist to be an amazing support system once I get into medical school and then go through all those things, because it doesn't stop at the MCAT, It just keeps on going.
Yeah, there's so much power behind a support system.
Yes.
And they can guide you and help you through so many different aspects of your life. And I think that's awesome that you do therapy. I don't personally go to therapy, but I know that there's so many benefits from it. There are other things you can do if you don't want to go to therapy, like journaling or just talking to someone. But yeah, that's awesome that you do that. Because I know being a pre-med student or just trying to be a better version of yourself, there are a lot of pressure. Yeah. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And so one of the biggest things that I've been working on over the last few years of my life is saying no. Because ever since I could remember, like probably I've done this in high school, in college, but I will just pile on things. Yeah. Any opportunity I saw, I would apply. And for the most part, I would get them. But then after that, I'd be like, I cannot give my full self to it. But I didn't realize that. So I would just go through the motions, just doing all these opportunities, fill my plate, and then I wouldn't feel fulfilled. Mm-hmm. And so I've started to take a step back, and I kind of write down what my values are, what my passions are, and what I want my future to look like. And so if there are certain opportunities that fulfill those questions, then I'll take them. But then I never take too many. I try to write down everything I'm doing, because you subconsciously just pile on so many things and you don't realize, like, your body tells you for you. But in your head, you're like, I just need to keep going. I just need to keep doing this, and it'll pay out sometime.
Keep pushing through. Oh my gosh, yeah, same.
Yeah.
Did you do sports in high school or anything?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like what we experience is very similar to like sports, like the way or at least my team in Florida was like, I did 3 sports, and the team sports I did, we would do like a really long game, and they were like, hustle, keep going, don't stop, grind doesn't stop until the timer clicks to 0. Like, keep going, keep going, keep going. And you get breaks, but even during the breaks, you're like warming up, you're getting ready for the next thing. And I feel like I've always been in that mindset. I'm like, just keep going, push through. But my gosh, I gotta chill.
Especially in sports, it's very competitive. Mm-hmm. And if you're not moving, then you're losing, basically. And I think sports at an early age kind of cultivates that. Yeah. And I know for me, that's where my competitiveness came from. Like, if I don't win, then I lose. Like, there is no in between. There is no second place for me.
Yeah, because it goes on your college application. Gotta get to that next level. Gotta get into college. Oh my gosh.
So with sports and this competitive nature, especially as a pre-med student or pre-health student, what's your thought on this idea of collaboration over competition?
Oh, wow. I wish it was mainstream. I feel like it's like the way that applications work and how pre-meds are kind of like conditioned to be in college is to compete with one another. But it's never really like said, at least I don't know in my experience, where it's like, yeah, I'm competing with the other pre-med across the room in this chemistry class to get at least an A, or we both get an A, because if I get a B and he gets an A, that's going to show up on the application and they're going to compare us. And it's like, I used to think like that. And then my sophomore year, this was freshman year, my sophomore year, I was like, oh, that's ridiculous. Like, come on, we should build each other up. And who who cares if like I get a less grade or whatever? And med schools are now trying to review applications holistically. You know, you can show your strengths in some things, and it's okay to have weaknesses in other places. And I think that's been hard to accept, but we should collaborate so much more. And I feel like I've really tried to do that with the conference, the National Pre-Health Conference. But yeah, we really should work on that, the pre-med community.
And I think just the community of bettering yourself, because whether you're an entrepreneur, a doctor, or anything else, there's always going to be competition.
Yeah.
From either your siblings. I know my parents never really compared me and my sister, but I know for other people it was always like, oh, your older brother is this, like why can't you be this? And so I personally feel really strongly about having competition work entwined with collaboration.
I like that.
Because if you think about it, you don't have to compete against other people, but you can compete against yourself.
I think I definitely compete against myself all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's very hard to not be hard on yourself for just little things. When things don't go perfectly, yeah.
I will say one thing that helped me overcome that, because I would also beat myself down, like, oh, why am I not good enough? You know, my friends are doing this and I'm not where they are. I would write I am statements. And so in the morning, Albert, my boyfriend, and I would do this. We would go to the gym, clear our head, come back, and we would write I am statements.
Aww.
And it can be as many as you want. So you just clear your head and just write down whatever comes to your mind. Like, I am strong, I am smart, and just write the list down till you can't think anymore. And that really helped me affirm to myself that I am more than a test score. I am more than a statistic.
Yeah.
And it just is a constant reminder that what you're doing is enough. And if you're not where you want to be, it's completely fine. But then you have to create that discipline to fulfill your goals.
Yeah, I really like that. That's similar to like that power pose that people do in the morning. I used to do that.
I've never heard of that. Tell me.
Where you like get out of the shower and you stand in the shower and you put your hands on your hips and you look in the mirror and you go, I am amazing.
Yeah. No, it's like little quirky things that you might not want to share with people, but it's whatever works for you, right? Because you don't want to keep beating yourself down that you lose hope.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep going. You need to build that motivation, that drive to just keep on going.
Hope is so important. I just feel like every year I'm like, I hope I get this scholarship. I hope I get this position. I hope I get this job. I hope I get Fulbright. I hope I get a good score on my MCAT. But I think translating from, oh my gosh, I feel like I didn't do as well. I don't know if I'm going to get a good score, from anxiousness to curiosity, where it's like, I'm curious to see how well I do and how that will play into my application and hopefully shine through. I'm interested in seeing what people will say or ask of me in my interviews. And that's the thing my therapist loved to ask me about. He was like, what are you curious about in your life? Not anxious about or stressed about. I'm like, what are you curious? I'm like, I'm curious where I'll be next year. Things like that.
I really love that, because it takes something that comes from a place of fear and anxiousness to that curiosity, like you said, to this hopefulness that, oh, if I put positive energy towards it, then it will come in my favor.
Yeah.
Otherwise, when you have this fear and anxiousness around something, then you're just dreading the worst.
Yeah, definitely. I used to say I wanted to be like a surfer dude. Just like chill, let whatever comes.
Meditate every day.
And then my friends were like, you would hate that. You can't not be a surfer dude, or you can't be a surfer dude. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like everyone has that thing where, I don't know, something that drives them, that fire that just needs to be ignited. And if yours is becoming a doctor and just helping people genuinely, then that's your fire. You know, you need something to light that. To do that kind of stuff, you know, to become the best applicant you can be, to be the best person in life in general, you need a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm working on. I know I'm only 22, but it's such an impressionable age.
Yeah.
I think you can start whenever you want. You know, even at a younger age, you can start building this discipline because it's only going to help you. And that goes to building skills and building that mindset. So when you were in college or even early on in your childhood, were there any skills or discipline things that you've done that you still use today that have helped you?
Wow. Let me think about this. When I was in high school, I decided I really wanted to get out of Florida. Unfortunately, my father was abusive because of his illness. A lot of factors played into that, but he somehow got full custody of me and my siblings during this time in high school. And actually, just my other siblings, but half custody of me. And I think I grew up too quickly, and I realized, like, all right, I need to work hard, get as good of a score as I can for whatever that means in high school, and get out of here and move on. And I think that's always stayed with me. I have worked so hard in high school to get out, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta work so hard in college to get to my next level. I gotta impress my family, you know, the people I love. And there is a lot of pressure that I think that has shaped my discipline. And to reimagine that discipline from a place of excitement instead of like fear, you know, like we said, and worry. And that's kind of where it stemmed, but I'm trying to reshape that now.
That must be so tough. Like, I can't even imagine how hard that must have been because while I don't have the same childhood as you, I also had to grow up pretty early on because coming from an immigrant family, my parents didn't know what a GPA was or how the school system worked or how you had to make friends and just like the whole life structure here in America.
Yeah.
And so I had to try to learn from my sister. Now, something that has helped me through a lot of these hard times is finding that mentor. But I really struggle because, I have people in my life that are well off, that are successful and where I want to be. But when I look at how I want to be a doctor, I look towards the doctors in my hospital, and I think they're a great example of where I want to be. As a pre-med in college that may not have a job where they work with doctors or have a community where they can reach out to comfortably, where would you suggest these people to look to find a mentor?
Oh, email me. Oh my gosh, that is like, I think, such a big problem, and I feel so passionate about it, and it's something I've been wanting to try to solve with the National Pre-Health Conference. I'm hoping to start a mentorship program with my conference and gain some support from the current guest speakers that we've had. We've had a lot of people come and speak from all over the country, and I know that all of our students would benefit from some of these relationships and partnerships, you know? So I would love to help support them in that way. I wish there was something more mainstream that was already out there, but I think that's something that we have to work on and create.
Yeah, and that's the point of this podcast, right? I mean, of course, myself and all the guests that I've had, including you, I'm sure we don't know everything there is to know in the world, but we're learning, and as we go, we share these life lessons that we've learned and just how to be a better person. Because at the end of the day, you're not comparing yourself to other people, but you're comparing yourself to who you were yesterday and where you want to be, right?
Yeah.
So with all of these big things that you're doing, right? The conference, your Fulbright, the MCAT, and applying to medical school in general, and all the many things you're doing. Have you ever come across people that have taken advantage of your success? And how do you deal with that?
Oh my gosh. I think I've seen some organizations I'm not going to name that have adopted my framework for the conference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I will talk about these with you later, but I can't really do anything about it, you know? If someone invents the potato chip, they can invent many variations of potato chip. I don't think that's taking advantage of my success. I don't feel like anybody really has. But if they do, you know, I want to help them build up their own strengths. And, you know, if it's a partnership with me in one of my organizations, then, you know, we should totally help each other out and build each other up.
Honestly, you were one of the few people that I was so excited to have in my life because there is no competition between us.
No.
You know, when we hang out, we are always talking about what we want to accomplish, what we're doing in life, and we have our fun moments, like go shopping, but it's also like, how can we better help each other?
Yeah.
And just become ultra successful together. And that's that whole collaboration part.
You know, I think I have experienced something similar now that I'm thinking on it during my early years in college. It's actually really funny. In my biology classes, I was one of the top students, and I would make these Quizlets, and then everybody would be like, and there'd be extensive Quizlets. I spent so much time on this stuff. And so many people would ask me, like, can I have your Quizlet? Can I have your Quizlet? And all of those people, you know, through college would also ask me, like, hey, can you share your notes a little bit? Like, tell me what happened in class today. I didn't go. Or, like, give me your flashcards. And I'd be like, I was way too nice.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, okay, sure. Like, I guess I don't care. You know, like, it's not like you're cheating. It's just like I'm sharing the information that I have. And I haven't applied to medical school yet, but all of those people are in medical school now, and they're doing really, really well for themselves. And I'm really, really happy for them. And I'm just like, man, I gave them all my notes. I gotta get to med school soon.
Yeah. It's really hard to shift your perspective into giving people what they need, right? Because you it's from a place of genuine concern, right? So, but there's a line where you can't give too much and you have to focus on yourself.
Yeah.
It's really hard to have that hard cutoff line when you're trying to help people, especially as a doctor. You haven't applied to medical school yet, but you've been around doctors, you know.
Yeah.
Their personal life, how they manage work-life balance. What have you learned from them about building relationships in a professional way, but also in a caring way for people?
It is such an interesting environment to be in because you're with each other for a long time. I mean, as a medical scribe, I worked as a medical scribe in an ER in Phoenix, as 3 ERs actually, across 3, for a year and a half. And you're hanging out with these physicians, making their notes, and it was honestly just a mind game the entire time. With our physicians, we had to learn what their tendencies were, like if they tended to see a ton of patients in one shift or very little, or if their notes were really long or very short, or whether they decided, like sometimes even like disappear for an hour to go do something without telling you, or stay. And I always had to be on my toes. Like, what is my physician doing? Where are they? I gotta write it down in my note. And sometimes I'd follow them into the bathroom. Or they'll be like, why are you following me? I'm like, I don't know, it's my job. And it's so weird because you form these like very personal relationships, but you still have to create that barrier. Like, okay, this is professional though. Even though we just brought this patient back to life, or saw this gunshot wound together, experienced trauma together, you're still above me. And something I realized is I stopped letting people push me around. Sometimes physicians, you know, they're people too. I've never had any problems. Mainly physicians were like, thank God I have a scribe and you do really good. And I'd be like, great, thank you for the validation that I crave. But then some physicians would be like, you got this little thing wrong and it's very important to make sure it's perfect. I know everybody is coming from a different place, but no one ever gives you like gives the right to be a horrible person or mean to you. And I really hope I carry that into medical school. Of course, I'll still provide respect, but, I won't let you push me around.
Yeah, no, it's really important, especially as a woman in going into medical school and becoming a doctor, that you stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And just how you carry that confidence and that assertiveness is just admirable. I think that when you want to be successful and you want to be a better version of yourself, you need to have that.
Absolutely.
Just that confidence that you can be better, and that, people are saying negative things to you, but you take that in a positive way and you learn what they're saying that is negative, because sometimes they could be teaching you things that you need to work on yourself, right? So just figuring out how these people play a role into your life and help you be a better person.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been awesome to have you here today, and you have so much to share, and I'm so grateful for it. If there was one last thing that you would share to pre-health students, people that want to be entrepreneurs and just build that discipline like you are continuing to do, what would it be?
Have confidence. You are amazing. You've done so much. So many different things. You've done so well in school. And I know you're probably thinking, no, I haven't. Imposter syndrome, right? I felt the same way today. I was like, I ended my interview with Fulbright and I was like, oh, man, everything sucks. Have confidence. And honestly, I'm trying to tell that to myself too. I need to have some confidence. You are successful. Just to be able to even try to be a pre-med and do all of these things and apply to medical school is in itself a huge accomplishment. And don't let anybody else tell you otherwise.
That's awesome. And on that note, I just want to say thank you for being here. You shared so much advice, and I know I continuously learn from you. So thank you so much.
Well, I look forward to planning the 4th National Pre-Health Conference with you. If you're listening and you are a pre-health student, check out our website at www.nationalprehealthconf.org. Aditi runs the website, so if you have any remarks for her, feel free to email her. Just kidding.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.